finish off 2022 with a bang. First, we'd like to thank everyone as a record number of you took advantage of our Thanksgiving 7-day special. We hope you enjoyed the convenience of getting your favorite handicappers plays daily during the hectic holiday weekend. And we also know that December can be a frenzied month with the holidays and all the sports in play. In the spirit of the season and due to the success of the Thanksgiving special, we are now offering a rest of the calendar year special to get every NFL, college bowl game, NBA, NHL, or any other sport your favorite handicapper releases through December 31st for only $1.99. The early bird really does catch the worm for this special as it starts the day you sign up. No coupon is needed and you pay only $1.99 today or pay $1.99 in a few days. The choice is simple. Let's have a great ending to 2022.
Hey guys, welcome back right here to Wager Talk TV. You're watching Puck Time, and I am Andrew McInnis. Alongside today, I have Carmine, Bianco, and Bryan Leonard in his usual Thursday spot. It feels good to have the schedule back to normal a little bit. I'm a big routine guy. Nice to have the routine. And, of course, good to have Bryan always on Thursdays. It was a big show yesterday for Carmine and I. It was just the two of us. Best bets came through. Both of our 5% came through. I'll tell you what, I wish mine was a little bit more sweat-free than Carmine's was, but hey, a win is a win as I cash in with the Vancouver Canucks. Carmine hits one of the best side plays you're going to hit probably this season with the Buffalo Sabres. So overall, it was a great day yesterday, not just for us and our clients, though, for the show plays, and I was happy as well because, Carm, you had a team total overplay that you gave out to clients and on the show for the Boston Bruins. And I looked at you on the show and said, hey, man, we can both hit our bets. Let's do it. I have the under in the game. And somehow we're able to cash it. Colorado doesn't even get one goal, and the under cashes. So I don't think it's going to happen very often where one guy comes on the show, likes a team total over, and then the next guy says, I like the under, and somehow we both end up cashing tickets. But anyway, it was a good show yesterday. I want to bring you in, Carm. Congratulations to you. And obviously, we'll try and turn the page and get some good results tonight as well.
Yeah, that was a fun night of NHL hockey. I bunkered down to watch the Sabres game. And I'm like, as I had a 5% play on, I'm like, please don't let me sweat this one. Score the first goal. Because it always seems like when you're on a game you really like, the other team scores first and you've got to sort of sweat it. But man, it was such a bad scheduling spot. I thought for Columbus, especially with that depleted lineup, and the Sabres just didn't stop. I didn't expect them to score 6 goals. I didn't expect Tage Thompson to score 5 of them. The only Sabre to have scored 5 goals, other than Dave Andreychuk, a former, I think, Maple Leaf player as well, too. So yeah, it got there. I'm pretty happy about it. I was probably more excited that the pizza bet that we gave out won. I think we got to make that a feature. I'm going to try and get a hold of some pizza companies and see if we can come up with a pizza bet play of the day. But the fade of 3 teams coming off East Coast trips, returning back, Colorado, the Vegas Golden Knights, and the last one was San Jose. All of them end up on the wrong end of the score line. And congrats to you, Andrew, as well, too. You had a 5% play on Vancouver. They get it done in overtime, exactly the way you drew it up. I'm positive that's the way you drew it up. You're like, let's let the clients sweat it out, and we'll win it in OT. And a W in OT is just as good as a W in 60 minutes. But we got a lot of games to talk about. 4 good ones. We're going to do Nashville, Tampa, Detroit, Florida, Winnipeg, St. Louis, and Ottawa and Dallas. And of course, our favorite Thursday guest, or one of our favorite guests, of course, and a guy I got to sit down and watch football on Sunday with at a pretty cool sports bar, Bryan Leonard. Bri, thanks for coming out for drinks on Sunday. Really appreciate it. You, Marco, and Ralph Michaels, the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Cleveland Browns bandwagon guys, there to watch some football.
And we won't ask you to explain why either, Brian. We won't ask you to explain why. Guys, Bryan has a 5% play going tonight. Bryan, you have been outstanding with hockey, but also very selective with your 5%. At least that's what I've noticed. So, guys, you can go over to Bryan's page at wagertalk.com, get his 5% play. And I believe there is a promo code, and I think it's NHL 10. Correct me if that is wrong, Bryan, but you can get $10 off that 5% play. I got a good feeling about this week for 5% plays for the Puck Time crew. That's for sure. So, Bryan, it's on you to keep the streak rolling here, and I think you will do just that. So, guys, pause the video right now if you're watching, listening on podcast. Go to Bryan's page, buy his play, and then come right back and watch the rest of the show. All right, we'll see you back here in a few moments. Yes, BL10. BL10 for Bryan. $10 off his 5% play. Again, very selective with Bryan with these 5% plays, but he's had a really good track record with them. I saw, what was it, like 29 and 15 long-term, something like that, Bryan, a really good run. So hats off to you for that. And hey, let's try and find some winners for the guys tuning in right now here on this show and watching here on YouTube, listening on the podcast forums. Today's games, we're breaking down Predators, Lightning, Wings, Panthers, Jets, Blues, and the night game with the Dallas Stars and Ottawa Senators. Let's start things off with the Predators and Tampa Bay Lightning game going head-to-head here. Of course, this game is taking place in Florida. Nashville plus 170, Tampa minus 200, total at 6 in this one. Carmine, I'll go to you, and I just want to kind of lead in with this. It feels like for the first time in a little while, this is a Tampa Bay team that might be falling under the radar a little bit. It could be just me, but it seems to me like this is a Tampa team that I'm not reading as much about, not hearing as much about in the media. They're just a team that's sliding under the cracks. Would you say that's true at all?
No, what we've seen from these two teams thus far, and before I get into this real quickly, I just sent a message to our producer just to check Bryan's audio because some guys said that couldn't hear him during that intro. So hopefully we can get that rectified and everything is good. But Andrew, these teams are pretty much where I expected them to be. I actually think Nashville's playing a lot better than I thought they would. They're in a nice little 7-2-1 run, and Tampa's pretty much the same 7-3 off a bit of a slow start for them. This is one of those tough ones because these are two teams that are playing extremely well. I can't really even figure out the total here. Tampa, their games at home, unlike last year, their games at home are trending to overs. I think they're 7-4 thus far on the season over the total at home. But then that's sort of offset by Nashville, who are like 5-4-2 on the season to the over. So there's not really a lot there. They're pretty much even on the season when you factor in that vig as well too. The one thing that sort of has me leaning towards Tampa Bay here is because they're obviously a good team off of a loss, but also Nashville hasn't been a world beater on the road this season. I think they're 4-6, 5-6 record wise, but one of those games was those two games that were played on the same ice surface with San Jose, and I think it was in Prague when they started the season off overseas. But in North America, they're 4-6 on the road this season. And, two good goalies, Saros and Vasilevsky. So you're always sort of cringing on whether you want to take the over with two very good goalies. But I'm probably leaning here. It hasn't made my card, but if I was leaning, it would likely be Tampa and the over here. We'd probably see some goals in this one. Bryan, I hope we got your mic working. Give me your thoughts on this one.
It's working. Yeah. I look. It's interesting that Andrew brought that up, and I could kind of tell in your voice that you didn't agree. I'm looking to play against Tampa. I think they're an overrated team at this point. The only reason I'm reluctant to do so in this game is because you mentioned how they do off of a loss. This year they're 7-2 off of a loss, and obviously they had an embarrassing home loss last time out. But this Nashville team's playing really well. Just so far in the month of December, they beat the New Jersey Devils in overtime. That's enough to make any team look really good because the Devils have just been as hot as Boston has all season long. And then they go into New York and they beat the Islanders back-to-back, second to back-to-back. They win that game 4-1. So they've been playing really well. And another reason why I prefer the Nashville side here, they haven't played since last Friday. They've got a lot of time off here. It is the third straight road game in the month of December, but they've had a lot of time off in that regard. So I think it's a spot here for Nashville. I think the line's too high. I may not get there because of the situation with Tampa off of a loss, but it's rare you get a team playing as well as Nashville is in this price range. And I'm leaning on that side right now. In fact, I like a lot of the dogs on today's card.
And Bryan, either to follow up with you or Andrew, obviously we didn't. Nothing was confirmed while I was going through the game, but in checking RotoWire now, I do see that Elliott is now confirmed to start in this one. Not a bad record as far as wins and losses, 5-1, although an elevated goals against average of 3.62 with a save percentage, and not so great, 0.886. So it makes me feel a little bit better about not so much the Tampa part of it, but thinking that there might be some goals in this one. I'm kind of hoping that is the route to a winning bet in this one. Andrew, back to you.
Yeah, I mean, Carm, one thing for me is that I've always been someone to try and find a way to get behind a team when they have a backup in nets because you always get better odds with that team, and it's certain situations where it seems like the general public want to completely fade the crap out of that guy or, a backup they don't hear about as much. And a lot of times you can make some money on them and you look at it, like you mentioned, Brian Elliott, 5-1 on the year, but is that because his team just scored a lot whenever he played, or was he actually playing well? And the answer is the first part, of course. You look at some pitchers in the MLB that have better records than some of their partners in crime, but yet they give up 4 runs a game, but somehow, some way, their team always scores runs for them when they're out there. So they're like, yeah, I've got a great record, but their stats are the worst in the team. So it's funny when you look at that and you can dive deep into that. I always remember that stuff, and I like to make that comparison to pitchers because I think it makes a lot of sense to look at. Why am I bringing this up? Well, Brian Elliott, really, as much as I want him to do well, he's a guy that we just can't ignore that his rebound control has been very poor right now. He gives up lots of rebounds. That's how teams are scoring goals against him. It's not really the first shot that they're scoring against him. It's kind of the off-the-pad rebound, a weak glove save that drops down, and that kind of stuff. But you look at this Tampa Bay team, they're coming off a loss. They're a team that I like to have my eye on after a loss, especially off a loss against a team that they should have beat probably. Tampa Bay were minus 250 against Detroit just a couple days ago. And then Nashville strung together 3 wins in a row. And then their last 2 games, they score 8 goals combined. It might be hard to imagine with these 2 goaltenders, or these 2 teams in general looking towards an under, but I'm actually going to look towards the over in this game. I've had a really good read on some totals lately here on the show, and that's where I'm going to go in this game. I'm going to look for some goals in this one. I think that when Tampa Bay bounces back, they usually bounce back with some goals, and unfortunately for Brian Elliott, usually when he's in nets, the team has to score 4 or 5 goals to come close to winning the game anyway. So I'm going to go with the over in this game, guys. For this one, and it is a good card today though for underdogs. I do like what you guys are saying overall as far as this card goes. And let's go over to the next game to see if Brian likes a barking dog here with the Red Wings and Florida Panthers. Is Florida, they're minus 210, Detroit plus 175, total is at 6.5. And Brian, I've made some money with Detroit this year, a lot of times as like a short favorite or short dog, not really in this position, but this Florida team is a team that I don't know if I want my money on them in a spot like this either. I think we're going to see the Red Wings go through slumps, go through good patches, rough patches. But one thing about Florida that we can't get away from is the fact that they're no strangers to giving up goals. They might go a game or two where they allow 1 or 2, But against the Detroit team that's very, very fast, it wouldn't shock me, Bryan, if we saw some goals here from Detroit. What are your thoughts here?
I agree. This is amazing to me. Detroit has won 6 of 11 road games. Florida has won 6 of 11 home games. Detroit on the season, goal differential, +3. Florida on the season, goal differential, +2. Florida, first game back home after playing on the road for the last week, and they're a $2 favorite. There's no way. Florida may win this game. Obviously the line's telling you that. They're a $2 favorite. But how the hell is Florida a $2 favorite when you look at the numbers of this game? Detroit's a team right now. They just beat Tampa Bay, a team that you're real fond of, a team that you think is very good, and they have been very good a long time, and they're very good at home. Detroit went in there and won. So they beat Columbus. I don't think Columbus is very good. I've been looking to play against Columbus. I wish I'd have watched the show yesterday, and I'd have had Buffalo listening to Carmine. But this is a team in Detroit. They're playing with a lot of confidence now, and they're doing so on the road. Winning record on the road, going into Florida here, catching that 170. To me, there's no doubt that Detroit is the right side in this game.
Carm, what do you think here? I mean, Florida's obviously a team that has lots of talent. They've been a good team for several years now, trying to make that next jump, obviously, in the playoffs this year. But in this price range, it's something that I want to avoid with Florida. And I'll tell you what, Carm, I want to get the updated price, but something that I've been doing a lot, and I've been doing this, where I've been taking a look at these teams that are in an underdog position like this. And I told Bryan about this actually last week when we spoke together. I take these underdogs and I take their team total over, because a lot of times the team total is 2.5 for these dogs. And I understand that I am missing out on the +175. But last week, Bryan and I spoke about the Montreal Canadiens game against Vancouver, or a couple days ago. And, this Vancouver team ended up beating Montreal after Montreal had a 4-0 lead. The good news is I cashed my team total in the first period. And I feel like against a Florida Panthers team, we could probably see Detroit score 3 goals, but still end up losing the game. I want them to win now that Bryan likes them on straight up on the money line. But I like the Detroit team total over 2.5 at -125. Any thoughts there, Carm?
Yeah, I have the Detroit team total, and it's likely going to be one of my smaller plays today, but it's on there. I've got a price listed a little higher than what yours is, but I get it. Florida's a good team. They were a good team last year, but they're not a good team right now. They're not playing well. They're 3-7 their last 10, and they've allowed 36 goals in those 7 losses. This is a team that is struggling right now. Yeah, I get it. They beat Vancouver. I get it. They beat the Seattle Kraken. And they did deal the Bruins a loss as well, too. But this is a team that hasn't looked good right now, and I don't know what's wrong. We've talked about Calgary struggling. We've talked about now Florida struggling, and maybe that deal between with 2 big players going in opposite directions change the chemistry of these 2 teams. But you can't just continue to keep burning money on the Florida Panthers saying this is a very good team. They're going to get better. They're going to win. They're playing Detroit. This is a get-well spot. No, it's their first game back off a 5-game road trip, and we saw how that worked out yesterday. I get it. It's just a trend or something that I look at. But yesterday, all 3 teams, West Coast teams that came back from the East Coast, all lost yesterday. With only the Rangers being a dog in those games, but it's the same thing. Florida returning off a 5-game Western road trip. You could say that the final game was played in Winnipeg, and the time difference between Winnipeg and the East Coast is probably about an hour, I believe. And they're just traveling south as far as going from West Coast to East Coast, but still a 5-game road trip with travel, returning home, and they're just not playing well. That game in Winnipeg where they lost 5-2 just showed they were outplayed in that game. And I get it. Winnipeg's a very good home team this season. They're playing extremely well, and we're going to talk about them next. but I wouldn't blame you for taking the Detroit Red Wings tonight. You know what I mean? It just, hey, don't they play in like, what's the name of that? Little Caesars. Again,
Yeah.
pizza bet, Little
Yeah.
Caesars. Who knows? Maybe there's something there with this one. But I do like, as far as the play goes, I wouldn't take Florida. It's either take the dog with Detroit or nothing. And I do like that team total, Andrew. I think if we see some goals here, I think Detroit get theirs, and over 2.5 is a good play as far as the team total for Detroit goes.
I was watching the NHL Network the other day, and they were talking about besides a handful of players, I think it was like McDavid, Matthews, and Cale Makar, who would you want to build your team around? And one guy said Moritz Seider. I couldn't believe it. One guy said that the entire league, out of those couple of guys, not McKinnon, not Marner, Kucherov, those guys, he said Moritz Seider is who he would want to build his team around. And it just goes to show the job that they've done over in Detroit, building a team there and getting all these young players. There's a bright future for the Red Wings, and they're a very, very fast team that can definitely score some goals. And like we're saying here on the show today, we think they can catch Florida off guard a little bit here. And Carmine, I'm telling you, man, I ate healthy yesterday, but if you keep talking about pizza, tonight might be a pizza night in my household, man. It's too tempting. You keep talking about pizza.
I had some last night. I had some pizza last night in between periods. When I ordered some dinner, I ordered some like nice. I'm gonna make you guys hungry. I ordered some nice fresh mozzarella from a place called Scadabouche, and some pasta and some pizza, and shared it with my wife. But the final note on this game is, like, even if you look at the goaltender, Spencer Knight listed as the probable goalie, and Ville Husso listed as probable goalie. Husso's pretty good for he's 11-4 this season, 11-4-3, I believe. But on the road, he's 4-1-1 in 6 starts with a 2.80 goals against average and a 913 save percentage. So a good goaltending tandem thus far for the Detroit Red Wings. And we're making Johnny Detroit happy because he's a season ticket holder as well for this team.
Well, this game should be interesting here. Let's talk about the Winnipeg Jets and St. Louis Blues here. We have the Winnipeg Jets -115, the Blues -105. And you take a look at this contest, you take a look really at, this St. Louis Blues team. I've said it all week, how up and down they really have been. They either on a winning streak or they're on a losing streak. Whereas this Winnipeg Jets team, like I said, they're a team that I had pegged wrong this season. They've definitely overachieved anything I thought they were going to be. And they've strung a lot of wins together, but not just strung wins together. It's strung these wins together by scoring goals and scoring goals consistently, 4 or 5 on average, it seems like, in some of these. But I might throw some people off here and go ahead, and I'm going to take St. Louis on the money line. I think that sometimes when a team needs a win after a bunch of losses in a row, it, to me, is just as important for them to get the win than for them to score a bunch of goals in that victory. And we saw St. Louis score 7 goals against the New York Islanders, something that's not very easy to do at all, especially when you're on the road. So I think St. Louis builds off that last game. I still don't really trust their defense or goaltending as much, and Winnipeg gives up goals as well, but I'd lean to the over. But honestly, I'm going to ride with St. Louis. As we've seen here, they have been an up-and-down team, Carm. They've been a team that goes ahead and, like you called it, wins a game or two, loses a game or two, and I feel like things are going to start to balance out for this Blues team. They're getting the shot quality. They're getting the shots on net. And as much as it's against a pretty competitive foe tonight, I think they can take down the Jets. Give me the St. Louis Blues on the money line. No total play for me in this game officially here. Carm, what do you like?
Yeah, Andrew, this is a tough one because I don't know which way to go here. Have I been sleeping through this season? Because I look at the Winnipeg Jets and they're 11-4 their last 15 games. They're 14-6 over the 20 games. This team is winning games, and I get it. They're very good at home. As far as beating teams at home, they've got a very good home record. But you look at even their last 10 games or so on the road. This team is the same thing. There's 6 6-3-1. Going into Chicago winning, which pretty much every team is supposed to do, but scoring 7 there. Going into Dallas, I remember taking that one with the Winnipeg Jets. They're playing extremely well, and the Blues aren't. I get the Blues put up 7 against the New York Islanders, but I just want to draw a line through that. This looks more like a team that lost 6-4 to the Rangers, allowed 6 goals. 6 goals to the Pens, 6 goals to Carolina, another 4 to Dallas. This is a team that's allowing a lot of goals, and they still allowed 4 to the New York Islanders in spite of winning that game 7-4. What happens if they don't score goals, Andrew? This is the thing. What happens if they don't get 5 goals that they might actually need to win a game? If you're allowing 5 and 6 goals every single game, you're going to need 7. And St. Louis isn't the type of team that's going to score 7 on any given night or with regularity. So with that said, if Winnipeg gets 4 here, that's enough. I think it's enough for them to win this game. And if it's Hellebuck in goal, I don't think that the Blues get 7 like they got on Sorokin, who obviously had a off night in goal last time out. So until I see something from this Blues team, because if you look at their losses, when they lose, they just go down in flames, man. They just do not look good. So you can look at the Winnipeg Jets team total, and I haven't. And if the number on 2.5 for the Jets is anything 150 or lower, I would take the Jets on the Jets team total here. But with that said, I can't take the Blues. I'm taking the Jets here in this spot. Brian?
A couple things before I get to the game. First off, congratulations to Marco. I believe he had a 5% on the Rangers yesterday. I know he had a big play. Either 4 or 5. That was clearly the right side in that game, and I should have been on it. They dominated play the whole night against Vegas. Secondly, I really appreciate Andrew talking about that Montreal 4-0 blown lead. I don't stay up late for games, and I actually went to sleep after the first period of that game, thinking I had an easy winner. We'd already had that over the 2.5 in the total for Montreal, so I was feeling really good. I thought I was going to have a great night, and then I wake up and they lose 7-6 in overtime. It's not often you lose a 4-goal lead that's played after the first period. So, but
hey, Brian, it was about 2 a.m. where I live when I had to watch that happen. So that was, I was at least happy to be staying up late when it was a win, instead of staying up late to watch that massacre happen. It wasn't fun. It was not fun.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I couldn't believe it. I had to look at my score app twice to make sure I got it right. But I agree with Carmine a little bit here. You talked earlier that you thought Tampa Bay was under the radar. I think we know Winnipeg is under the radar because Carmine even mentioned he thinks he slept through the last month of the season and didn't realize how well Winnipeg's been playing. Winnipeg's got a better road record than St. Louis has a home record. There's a 38-goal differential between Winnipeg on the season and St. Louis on the season. And I know you talked about them coming back home here after playing on the road 2 games, but that win over the Islanders, if they would have lost that game, I would probably be on St. Louis with you, no doubt about it, because you lost a couple games badly on the road and then you're coming back home. But since they won that game, I think that gives us value here on Winnipeg. I like the Winnipeg side. I think the line is cheap based on what these teams have done. And Winnipeg's playing a lot better hockey right now than St. Louis is. And St. Louis is one of those teams. We talked about this last time I was on. They're very streaky this year. And I don't think that win over the Islanders, who have really struggled lately, is enough to push them into the win column again here. So I'll have to side with Carmine on this and take Winnipeg.
For what it's worth right now, Winnipeg listed as 50-1 to win the Stanley Cup. St. Louis listed as 60-1 to win the Stanley Cup. Both those teams getting ridiculous odds. If anyone's interested in those, I do think that's big numbers. And as Carmine always says to us, when you make these futures, you're making them hoping to win, but you're also hoping to set yourself up for a nice hedge. If you had either of those teams, I think you put yourself in a pretty good spot if they end up making any type of run. I'm not disagreeing, I guess, necessarily, Brian, but one thing I will say is that I've tried to change with my handicapping these days with NHL, where I don't care as much which team a team got their momentum off of. I just care that they got it. That's kind of my new thing, is like, I used to care so much about who a team beat. And now it's like, you know what? If some team scores 9 goals in the Arizona Coyotes and they're playing a game the next game, I'm still going to say they scored 9 goals the game before, even though it was against the Coyotes. Whereas I used to be the guy that was like very, very into like strength of schedule, weakness of schedule. And I'm especially like, even in like football, I've changed more of that, because teams just win. Like, teams don't care about point spreads. Teams don't care about how they win. They just want to win. So if they're winning, and I get it though, but it's also an accomplishment, I think, to put up that many goals against the Islanders. The Islanders are a team that, they give up 2 or 3 goals a game, it seems like. So anyway, it's 2 against 1. I'm here defending myself.
No, Andrew, it's not 2 against. It's not 2 against 1. I'm a little heavier, so it could be 2.5 against 1. But with that said, it's the Vegas weight. It's just when I look at a team like the Blues, or like any team in general that isn't playing well. I get the idea of the get well spot where you play a team and maybe you turn the corner, but I tend to look more at the fact that when a team is playing bad, you can look at, and this is a good point. If you look at the Calgary Flames earlier, they went on that trip and they were losing games. I think they went 0-4 on a road trip. But every single game they were in it, there were 3-2 games that they were losing. They were losing 1-goal games. The St. Louis Blues team is a different team. 10 of their last 11 losses have been by, they've allowed 4 or 5 goals. I think it's 5 goals or more in those losses. Those are games where you're competing. When your team allows, and listen, we've loved the St. Louis Blues. I'm not beating down on the Blues. I always thought the Blues were a better defensive team, a team that played very well defensively. But when you're allowing 5 or more goals in your losses, that's not a good thing. You're not mailing the points in. These are they put together. These aren't sporadic losses where they lose 2 games, win a couple games, win 2 games. They've gone on streaks where they lost 8 games, and then they won 7. Then they lose 5. You talked about them being streaky. They're just allowing a lot of goals. And to the point of Winnipeg's team total, the 2.5 is -190. It's unplayable. The 3.5, which is obviously a full goal more, you're getting +135 on your money. Am I tempted to take that? Probably, just because it's the Blues. And of course, they can come home and shut it down, and this could turn out to be a 3-1 game, and I lose a bet. But until I see this team put together a string of games where they're looking good defensively, I just can't put any money on the St. Louis Blues.
Let's call it first to 4 goals wins. That's what I feel like this game has to offer. First to 4, probably. Yeah. Let's how about we all just take the over? I mean, it's gonna be some goals. Speaking of games where we should probably see some goals, Brian, the next game we're gonna break down, the last one here before best bets, Ottawa and Dallas. And I was looking forward to breaking this game down with you, Brian, because I don't know if you watch, I don't know how much of the shows you watch, but I was frustrated the other day, and I brought up an expected goal chart, and I was on the wrong side of history when I took Dallas, and they had almost 6 expected goals in one game, and they scored 0 against the Toronto Maple Leafs. I mean, that was just incredible. They're a team that scores lots of goals, and so are the Ottawa Senators. So we'll get into these games here. Jumping into the Ottawa Senators right now. Obviously, they are going to be underdogs in this spot here. We have the total right now at 6.5, where we expect it to be. Dallas -200, Ottawa +170. Both teams rank top 10 in expected goals for. Dallas not only score goals themselves, though, Brian, they also do give up goals. And Ottawa, well, they're just a very hard team to figure out when they're going to show up to a game. I like the over 6.5. I'll keep it short and sweet. I feel like we're going to see goals combined with these clubs. I feel like we're going to see a good effort out of Ottawa. But Dallas, after having 6 expected goals and getting shut out, I feel like we're going to see a little bit of revenge here. And Ottawa just so happens to be on the other side of the ice for it.
Yeah, I was looking at this, and I liked Ottawa, but I didn't like the schedule situation. And that was Dallas off of back-to-back losses. and playing at home here. They got Detroit coming up on Saturday at home. But, yeah, if you got a team that's traditionally, like Dallas, had a very good home record, and they lost to two good teams. I mean, Minnesota beat them in a shootout, and then Toronto shuts them out 4-0. And they've got, after they play this game, they play Detroit on Saturday. Then they've got 5 games in an 8-day span on the road. So they've got a tough schedule coming up. You would think that this would be the spot where they've got to come out here against Ottawa and really played a good game. But, I think Ottawa's one of those teams right now that has a little bit of value. Like Detroit, I think Dallas is going to win this game, but I think the line's a little bit too high. And Ottawa's a team that, coming off of a loss at home, they lost to the Kings just a couple of days ago. Now they're on the road, played Dallas, Nashville before coming back home again. I'm kind of with you here. I think this is a situation where the total may be the way to look in this one. Lean with the over. Would have liked to have played Ottawa. Would have hoped that Dallas wasn't coming off of a loss, so that's going to keep me off the game. But, maybe I'll play Ottawa points over. I'll take a look at that. But as of right now, I'm in agreement. I think the over is probably the way to look in this game.
Carm, let's get some goals in this game. What do you think?
As long as they're from Ottawa, I'm fine with it. You know what? I'm leaning to Ottawa. This team, a lot was expected of this team to have a good season. They didn't have the greatest of starts, but they looked good. They have looked good over the last 10 days or so. They were 4-1 their last 5 going into that game against the LA Kings, and they just laid an egg in that one. I thought it was a good spot where they could have won. I didn't bet it, but they had the Kings coming in, starting a goalie who's making his first start. Phoenix, I think it was Phoenix Copley making the start in that game, and he hasn't really played a full season. This was his first game this year. I think he played 1 last season. I think it was for Washington, and then he spent 2 seasons in the minors, I think, for the Hershey Bears. And I thought the Sens are playing well. They're getting a call-up goalie that they're going to face and just keep the momentum going. And they laid an egg. And I want to come back with them. I want to draw a line through that game and say they played a bad one. They're going on the road now. And if it's Cam Talbot in goal, then I think I'm going to take the Ottawa Senators as a dog tonight. His splits are so weird. He's 0-5 at home with a 3.48 goals against average and a .888 save percentage, which isn't good. But then he gets on the road and he's 4-2 with a 2.19 goals against average and a 9.28 save percentage. That is a very good number for a goalie on the road, especially one that plays for the Ottawa Senators. And you're getting plus 170 on it. As Bryan said, the Stars. You look at that Stars schedule, and they probably deserve better against the Leafs. But at the end of the day, they're on a 2-game losing streak. They're coming home, and not only that, they've got a tough schedule coming up. That we could be talking about the Stars in about 4 or 5 days and how they've lost 4 or 5 in a row. I'm not going to say that's happening, but even with the Otter in goal tonight, if he's confirmed as the goalie, he's 9-3-2 at 2.54 goals against average. That's what we expect of him. But it wouldn't surprise me at all if the Ottawa Senators come in tonight and get the win here and then make it 4 or 5 of their last 7 games and start to put a run together. I'm going to take the plus money here with the Sens.
I like it. I think this could be definitely a spot for the Ottawa Senators. And sometimes you look at a team like Dallas that has been involved in so many high-scoring games that a lot of times they have been the team on the end of the scoring, right? They've been the team pushing the total over. But at the same time, when you play that style of hockey so long, it gets old. And what happens is you start to give up goals yourself, just like we think that Ottawa can do tonight. I like the over overall in this game. Just for anybody, I've been checking this a lot lately and just wanted to look again. Dallas 18-1 to win the Stanley Cup. They have been playing pretty well, but if anybody interested in grabbing a position there, but that's pretty crazy. Dallas 18-1. You've got Winnipeg 50-1, St. Louis 60-1. So quite a bit of difference there, but obviously the book's very high on the Dallas Stars. That is for sure. Once again, guys, Bryan has a 5% play tonight up at wagertalk.com. Do not miss that. Use that promo BL10. Get $10 off Bryan's play. We wish him the best of luck. And Bryan, you have a best bet for us for the show. I'm guessing 2. Look forward to hearing it from you, man. Over to you.
I do appreciate that. And once again, my name is not spelled B-Y-R-A-N. I'm not Byron. I am Bryan.
Byron.
I noticed that last time I had one. That somebody screwed it up. A couple things before I get to my best bet here, and I'm always trying to have a little bit of fun here. That Winnipeg, 50-1. How often do you find a first place team at 50-1 to win the championship? That's a given. As soon as we get off of the show today, I'm going to go look and try to get that number. Secondly, you talked about one of you talked about the Hershey Bears. When Hershey's losing games, do the fans call them the Hershey Squirts?
I have heard their crowd is pretty wild. That's for sure.
I've been to Cincinnati for a minor league game. I mean, they're a big rival. Should be a lot of fun. But yeah, I'm going to take a look at a game that we talked about a little bit earlier, and I'll use this as my best bet, slightly different. And by the way, the 2.5 over on Ottawa is roughly about -150. 2.5 over Detroit was about 140, in case anybody's looking for a couple of games that we discussed. But I'm going to take Detroit in the first period here. I already talked about how much I like Detroit here, coming off of 2 really strong plays on the road, getting past Columbus 4-2, and then Tampa Bay 4-2. They had a day off. They're going into Florida. Florida's a team coming back home from a long road trip. They not only played a few games on the road, but they had some space between them. So Florida's coming back at home, and as I said, Detroit's actually +3 in goals on the season. Florida +2. And Detroit's is just as good of a road record as Florida does at home. So give me Detroit in the first period. I think it'll be a little bit of a I'm going against Florida for the entire game, but I think the first period is where it gives an advantage, and you're getting on the +140, I believe. So give me Detroit first period plus the 140.
All right, always love those first period plays. Detroit first period money line +140 there for Bryan. Over to you, Carmine, for your best bet, and of course, what you have going for clients tonight.
Yeah, Bryan, it's better to be Ryan than Matt Ryan, because that guy's just sticking it up right now for his NFL team. But with that said, my NHL card should be up shortly. A couple more plays still need to be added, but 4-0 yesterday in NHL for clients, including that slam dunk Buffalo Sabre win. So 5% play. So I'm pretty happy about that. Some World Cup plays, quarterfinals go on Friday and Saturday. I have a 5% play up in the World Cup, so you can pick that up or pick up the whole tournament package as well too. I am going to the game that we did not discuss tonight, which is the LA Kings and Toronto Maple Leafs game. And you know me, every time I go to a Leafs game, I cheer for whoever they're playing. But in this case, I might be cheering for the Kings, but I'm going to give you, as your show best bet, the Toronto Maple Leafs in regulation time. I think this is a good spot for the Leafs. They're playing extremely well. The Kings come off of a game where they caught I think a sleeping Ottawa Senators team, but that won't happen tonight. I'm going to take the Leafs in regulation time, laying -110, and that is your show best bet.
Awesome stuff there. Maple Leafs in regulation, -110 from Carmine there. That is a team that is rolling right now, playing some very, very good hockey. Guys, for me, I try and be fully transparent on the show. It was a rough start to the NHL season. I didn't want it to be again like it was last year, but it was not great. And I'm happy to announce I officially have gone back into the green. So we are out of the negative this year. As much as I'd love to be able to, after this big run I'm on right now, say that I'm having an outstanding season. Well, actually, we're pretty much back to break even. But all things are going very well on a massive run right now in the NHL, at least. And went 3-0 yesterday with NHL, 1-0 yesterday college basketball. as I had VTech minus the points. And I'm back within the plus 100 unit mark in 2022, which is a mark that I was really excited about achieving. Hopefully, number 2 all sports at the website. So hopefully it can keep things going over at Wager Talk, guys. You can get all my plays there. Best bet for me, we're going Ottawa, Dallas over the total. I think Ottawa gets some goals. I think Dallas bounces back after getting shut out against a very good Maple Leafs team. And between the two of them, I think we definitely go up and over the total. So for me, guys, Dallas, Ottawa, over 6.5 goals. We have Bryan looking at Detroit in the first period and Carmine with Toronto in regulation. A little bit of a long show today, guys, but we appreciate you for sticking with us and joining us as always. Have a great day and best of luck.
Let's finish off 2022 with a bang. First, we'd like to thank everyone as a record number of you took advantage of our Thanksgiving 7-day special. We hope you enjoyed the convenience of getting your favorite handicappers plays daily during the hectic holiday weekend. And we also know that December can be a frenzied month with the holidays and all the sports in play. In the spirit of the season and due to the success of the Thanksgiving special, we are now offering a rest of the calendar year special to get every NFL, college bowl game, NBA, NHL, or any other sport your favorite handicapper releases through December 31st for only $1.99. The early bird really does catch the worm for this special as it starts the day you sign up. No coupon is needed and you pay only $1.99 today or pay $1.99 in a few days. The choice is simple. Let's have a great ending to 2022.